Hi everyone, it's TK. Welcome back to my channel. So about a year ago, I moved back from Boston to Denver. So today I wanted to share some of the differences between Boston and Denver, and also some of my thoughts and preferences between living in the two cities. So the first one is the housing market. So Boston is a lot more expensive than Denver. So a one bedroom in Denver can be like, I don't know, $1,300 to $1,500 rent. It could be a little different now, given COVID might be a little lower. But in Boston, pre-COVID was like, I don't know, $1,500 if you're lucky to like $1,800, right? So it tends to be a little pricier in Boston. I did hear that the rent in Boston is getting a little cheaper given COVID and a lot of people flying out or going elsewhere, but overall I felt like the housing market in Boston was a lot more expensive than Denver. Now, in my last video, I did talk about how the housing market in Denver is getting more competitive. Recently, given COVID and a lot of people moving into Denver, I think there's fewer houses on the market for sale and a lot more people who's interested in buying, so it is still the same or it might be even more competitive, but there are other options and there are also new houses, new apartments being built in Denver, so that might make it a little better than Boston in terms of finding a house. Also, you get more space and more for what you paid for than Boston, so personally, I think Denver is a little better in terms of housing. Number 2 is mountains versus the beach. So Boston isn't really like a beach city, but it's along the coast. So if you drive like 20 minutes, or you might not even have to go that far, you can go to the beach. But Colorado is a mountain state, so there's mountains that you can hike and go climb and take a walk, driving like 30 minutes. Even if you don't go up to the mountains, you can see the Rocky Mountains from like the city, which is absolutely beautiful. It's so nice. But personally, I'm more of a beach person than a mountain person, so just take account of that if you have a strong preference for either or. Number 3 is traveling out of the state or out of the country. So Boston is in the East Coast, whereas Colorado or Denver is like literally in the middle of the US, so that can make traveling easier or harder depending on where you want to go. So if you're planning on taking a road trip from Denver, it might take some time to go to a different state. You drive like 6 hours and you're still in Colorado, whereas if you're in Boston, driving like 6 hours, you can hit Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, probably can get close to DC as well. But if you're flying, last year I went to Hawaii for the first time from Boston. There's a direct flight from Boston to Hawaii, which took like 11-12 hours, the longest domestic flight, but from Denver it's like 7 hours. But if you're in Boston, want to go to Europe, I also went to London last year, and that took like 7 hours direct flight. But from Denver, I don't think there's a direct flight to London or to London. So traveling is restricted right now, but maybe something to consider if you want to travel a lot post-COVID. Number 4 is the food scene. So personally, I thought the food scene in Boston was a lot better than Denver. It's gotten better in Colorado, but there's great seafood in Boston with clam chowder, lobster rolls, everything else. Denver is more, I think, known for like meat over seafood. Also, my friend from the East Coast was raving about Colorado lamb and beef, and also Mexican food and beer. There's a lot of breweries in Colorado, so depends on what you like, but I feel like there's more options in Boston. Now, if you've ever been to Boston or Denver, let me know in the comments below what you think about the food scene. Do you like it? Do you not like it compared to where you live right now? Number 5 is humidity and weather. So let's face it, Denver is dry. Very, very dry. When I first moved from Denver to the East Coast, which was for school a while back, I thought it was so humid. Like I had a hard time breathing because I thought it was so humid. It was in Rhode Island. But last year when I moved back from the East Coast to Denver, I thought, oh my goodness, I forgot how dry it was. Needed to change my skincare routine a little bit. Also make sure I stay hydrated because it's really dry. But on the flip side, it tends to be really sunny in Colorado, which I really missed. I probably missed the most out of everything that the East Coast and Colorado has to offer. So I was happy about that, but first snow in Denver was like September this year, beginning of September. So that can happen. So if you're planning on moving to Colorado, just take account of that as well. Number 6 is driving. For me, driving in Colorado is a lot easier than in Massachusetts. I feel like the roads are like wider. There's not as many tolls as Massachusetts, Boston, and it's just like not as complicated as Boston. If you ever driven in Boston, like there's a lot of one-way streets and like the roads are narrow and I don't know, the highway is not as accessible either. So for me, like driving in Denver is a lot better. But there is more public transportation in Boston, so you might not have to worry about that too much. And last but not least, meeting new people. So I feel like it was a lot easier to meet new people in Boston, Cambridge, just because, I don't know, maybe because it's smaller, it's also more city than Denver. And Colorado tends to be really spread out. So there's like Denver, Boulder, and other places that you can meet. So you actually have to drive like, I don't know, sometimes 30-45 minutes to meet people, which can make things a little difficult. But most people have a car here, so I guess it's not too bad. But overall, because it's all spread out, I feel like just making new friends, meeting new people took a little more time than Boston, Cambridge. But I don't know, given COVID, things might be a little different, might be a little, I don't know, similar. Not sure, but that's how I felt when I moved back from Boston to Denver. Now, even though I personally felt like it was harder to meet new people in Denver compared to Boston, it's not like impossible to meet new people. And I'll talk a little bit about that in my next video as well. So that was an overview on some of the differences between Denver and living in Boston. So if you like the content, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And I'll be providing more updates on Colorado and what it's like living here. So if you're interested in the topic, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Now in my next video, I'll be sharing my personal experience moving back from Boston or East Coast to Denver after like 8-9 years. Some of the challenges I faced and how I got adjusted to that. So stay tuned and I will see you next time. Bye bye!